Hi, welcome back to the IBelieveInMarriage.com live Facebook get together. Can we call it that? I've been getting with you guys every week the entire year. We've been having weekly sessions right here on Facebook Live. We have been doing this periodically for many years, but in 2018, I've met with you guys every week consistently. Can I just tell you, I've loved getting to know you guys and talking with you and getting your emails and getting your commentary. I absolutely love it. And I'm really excited to kind of chat with you guys about what we are talking about today. But before I dive in, you know, people often say things like marriage is just so hard. And it is, but you guys, the way people describe marriage, it almost sounds like a chain gang. Like it's so much work. You're just slaving away in your marriage. And I don't know about you, but that doesn't sound very appealing to me. Like if it's that much work and we don't get a return on the investment, that doesn't sound appealing. So don't get me wrong. I agree. Marriage takes work. But guys, it should be a work that's rewarding, that we're getting, again, a return on our investment. And many times we are having such a hard time in marriage because we just don't have the tools necessary to experience the marriage we really want. You just don't have the tools. For those of you out there who are educators, you can attest that certain school systems or certain school districts have more tools to make sure that the students are experiencing the best learning environment. The tools matter, whether they have the right computers, whether they have the right books, whether they have access to the right things. The tools matter. And if you don't have the tools, it makes the work that much harder. I want you to imagine doing the work all of us do with the tools we had back 20 years ago. It would make the work that much harder. Guys, my point is, in marriage, there are tools that making our marriage work so much easier. And I would be honored if you would allow me to teach you some of those tools. On April 14th from 10 a.m. to 2:30 p.m., I am hosting the Couples Coffee and Conversation live event where I'm going to help couples build their marriage as a winning team. My handsome husband is partnering with me through our church, Transforming Faith Church, and we are going to help couples win. I would love for you to join us. Make sure you click the link, IBelieveInMarriage.com/winning team. IBelieveInMarriage.com/winning team. I'd love to see you there. My handsome husband would love to see you there. We would love to partner with you in building your marriage as a winning team. All right, let's dive into our conversation today. Today, we are talking about 4 things every winning couple needs. So let me say this. Let me preface this conversation by saying this. Guys, if you are not careful, you'll hear messages from everywhere. This person is telling you to do this in your marriage, and this person is telling you to do this in your marriage, and this person is saying, if you don't do this, you are messing up. And after a while, all of that information can get overwhelming. Even in business, when you're building your business, you have so many messages coming. But can I give you a piece of advice? One of the things I have learned is I'm giving you advice about all the advice that we get. But one of the things I've learned in my own life, personally, professionally, in my marriage, in parenting, in my friendships, you got to pick a train and ride it. You got to pick a train and ride it. You got to find someone or something that you're going to go all the way through. You're going to try all of the suggestions. You're going to do it all the way through. You can't do it halfway. And I'm telling you, if you could just listen to these 4 things every winning couple needs, if you would just take these 4 things and begin to apply it in your marriage. Don't apply it for just 5 minutes. Don't apply it for just this week. Don't apply it for just the next couple of weeks. I want you to apply this consistently. I believe you will see a change in your marriage, okay? So there are 4 things that every couple needs. I'm going to share with you all 4, and then we're going to break each of them down, okay? So the first thing every winning couple needs is a thermometer. I know you're like, what, Robin? What? A thermometer, yes. Number 2, an eraser. Number 3, an anchor. And number 4, a mirror. I'm so serious about this. I want you to run over to the dollar store and I want you to get you a thermometer. I want you to get you an eraser, an anchor, you know, just a toy anchor, and a mirror, just to represent what I'm sharing with you today. Did you see what I just did there? You see how I just spelled team with those 4 things? A thermometer, an eraser, an anchor, and a mirror. So, of course, that's a bit, some people would say gimmicky, or it's just something for you to remember. And it's something a little bit lighthearted for you to remember. But let me be serious with you for a moment. I don't play when it comes to marriage. There are too many couples who are on the brink of walking away. There are too many couples who are in it, but they are miserable. There are too many couples wanting to make their marriage work, and they're trying to figure out, what are we doing wrong? Why isn't it clicking? There are too many couples, well, things are going pretty good, but they're hearing all of this other stuff. They're wondering if it's going to stay good. So while I just gave you those 4 things and they're a little bit lighthearted, I am serious about what they represent. It's lighthearted for you to be able to remember, so you can even seriously go get those things and put them up somewhere, maybe in your kitchen, maybe you put it in y'all's bathroom, maybe you put it on your dresser, a thermometer, an eraser, an anchor, and a mirror, just to jog your memory, to remind you. But I'm telling you, these 4 things are critical if you and your spouse are going to win in your marriage. I want you guys to win. And quite frankly, I want the 2 of you to define what winning is for you. What is winning for you and your spouse? What's winning for my handsome husband and I? He is commenting in the section, in the Facebook Live. Thank you, honey. But what's winning for he and I? It's going to be different for winning from you. What Lee and I consider a win for our marriage, you might think, really? That's a win for y'all? No, that's not a win for us. I want you to customize it for your marriage. But whatever winning looks like, and we can give an overview of winning. Winning would include positive communication. Winning would mean effective communication. Winning in marriage is that I know you have my back and I have yours. Winning is knowing that nobody else is taking priority over you and nobody is taking priority over me. Winning is making sure we're building a legacy. But I want you to customize winning for you and your spouse. So if you're going to win, every winning couple needs a thermometer, an eraser, an anchor, and a mirror. So let's break that down. Every winning couple needs a thermometer. I cannot tell you how many couples I work with who do not know the true state of their marriage. Couples often come into my office and they walk in and they plop down on the couch, and I can almost tell you, even if it's the first time I've met them, I can tell you one of 3 things they're going to say. And one of the questions I often ask after I've seen them for a while and we've been dealing with an issue in their relationship, or we've been working toward a stronger marriage, they'll come in, they'll sit down, and I'll say, okay, tell me how things are going. And it never fails. One person says, we are good. We are doing really good. And the other partner is looking like, no, we're not. We're not doing good. And I tease them again to kind of take away some of the tenseness, and I'll say, are y'all in the same marriage? It amazes me how 2 people can be in the same marriage and see the marriage totally different. Can I be real with y'all for a moment? Well, I'm completely real all the time, probably too much. But let me say this. It's often the husband who's saying, we're good. We're good. Things are fine. And the wife is either saying, depending on her personality, she's either saying it out loud, no, we're not, or she's doing me like this. She's leaning back so her husband can't see her, and she's doing like this. Why is that? Why are 2 people in the same marriage seeing their relationship so drastically different? And one of the reasons that's the case, one of the reasons you can have 2 people in the same marriage and they're seeing the marriage totally different, is that they are not taking time to truly assess the health of their marriage. They're not taking time to truly assess the health of their marriage. I have a question for you. What do you and your spouse do to make sure that you and your spouse are in a good place? What do you do to take a temperature for your marriage? How do you know when your spouse is happily married or okayly married? Can I tell y'all about this okayly married? If you've never watched any of my videos before, this will be the first time you've heard this. But I had a client one time and I asked her, are you happily married? Like, this was my first time meeting her and she was married. So I kind of wanted to know the health of the relationship. And I said, are you happily married? And she said to me, Robin, I am not happy. Every time I think about it, I crack up. She said, I am not happily married. I'm not unhappily married. She said, I'm okayly married. My question to you is, are you and your spouse okayly married? Have you taken the temperature of your relationship? My husband said a couple of Facebook Lives ago, he joined me about 3 weeks ago, and he said, happiness doesn't just happen. Guys, my husband and I fight for happiness in our marriage. We work towards happiness. So you and your spouse need a thermometer. How do you take the temperature of your marriage? How do you know the health of your marriage? Is your marriage strong in this season? Is your marriage struggling in this season? Are you and your spouse just coasting? Are you and your spouse slowly pulling apart? One of the things I have to remind my couples is that there is no such thing as being stagnant in life, quite frankly, and definitely not in your marriage. There's no such thing as stagnant. Either you're moving closer together or you're moving further apart. How do you determine the temperature of your marriage? Every winning couple has a thermometer. There's something that they use to assess the health of their marriage. There's something that they have. It might be subtle. They may not even realize that that's what they're doing. But every winning couple is able to assess the health of their marriage. And let me say this before I move on to the second thing every winning couple needs. Let me say this. If one person in the relationship is not doing good in the relationship, then the relationship is not doing good. Like, imagine, I want you to get a picture of what I'm saying. If your spouse is not happily married, then the marriage is not in a good space. It takes two to tango. So if you're saying, Robin, that's my spouse, that's my wife, she got issues, she's not happy in the marriage, I don't know what's wrong with her, that's her stuff. Ain't no such thing. One of the things I like to ask my couples is this, because quite frankly, y'all, we're just talking, right? We're just having a discussion. If you guys have any questions, I'd love for you to post it, and I'll be looking over there to dive in with you every once in a while. But this is a question that I even ask myself all the time. What do I want my husband's story to be? Handsome, if you're still watching, you know we ask this about one another all the time. I ask myself all the time, what do I want Lee's story to be? When he's hanging out with his boys, when him and the fellas are out and they're hanging out, they're watching the game, or maybe they are doing whatever dudes do when they hang out. When they're doing that and they're talking about their relationship and they're talking about their marriage or they're talking about their significant other, what do I want his story to be? What do I want him to be able to say when he's with his friends, when no one's around, when these are his closest friends? I want him to be able to say, oh, we good. My wife got my back. She's supportive. She's taking care of business. She's handling things. I want his report to be positive. So that's what I want you to do. I want you to take that and take that into your own situation. What is the report your spouse would give when nobody else is, when it's just them with their closest friends, or when no one else is around, when they're journaling? What do you want their story to be? The health of your marriage must be assessed consistently. So again, if you're going to win in your marriage, if you and your spouse are going to win, you need to have a thermometer, something that you use to take the temperature of your marriage consistently. Because hear me when I say this, lean in. Come on, lean in with me. Just because things were good last year doesn't mean things are good today. Just because, and I posted the most hilarious meme on my Instagram. I want you to go to IBelieve_in_marriage. If you're not following us there, please go to IBelieve_in_marriage. One of my clients sent this to me this morning, and it was so on point because it was so her, and she knew it was her. It said, when I try to present solutions to my wife and she's still being dramatic, and it showed this woman refusing to go through an opening door. It's so hilarious because that's what often happens. So I'm not talking about us being dramatic or your wife being dramatic or your husband being disconnected. I'm asking you, what do you and your spouse do consistently to take the temperature of your marriage? Okay, I'm gonna get off of that one. I didn't even mean to stay there that long. Remember, I'm sharing with you 4 things every winning couple needs if you and your spouse are going to win in your marriage. And remember, at the top of our conversation, I said winning for you is totally different from winning for my husband and I. So when we talk about winning, I want you and your spouse first to know what is a win in your marriage. What is winning for you and your spouse? What is winning in 2018? When we get to December of 2018 and you and your spouse look back over this year, what will you be able to say was the check mark? What would you be able to say is we did that? What would you be able to say we accomplished that? What is winning in your marriage? And if you and your spouse are going to win, you're going to need a thermometer. You got to be able to assess the health of your marriage. The second thing you're going to need, if you and your spouse are going to win, you're going to need an eraser. You know, there is a statement or a slogan that I hear often, and it says, two flawed people, or it says, no, it says, love doesn't hurt. And it's often around domestic violence. And let me tell you, I totally agree when it comes to physical and emotional and spiritual abuse. I definitely agree with that statement. Love doesn't hurt. However, when you have two flawed people connecting for a lifetime, there's going to be some disappointments. There's going to be some frustrations. There are going to be times when your spouse is going to say something or do something that stings, that hurts you. And if you and your spouse are going to win, if you and your spouse are going to knock it out the park, you're going to experience the marriage you really desire, you and your spouse need an eraser. You're going to have to be able to let go, to erase some of that stuff that you're holding on to. You're going to have to be able to let go, show some grace in some areas. You know, when you're erasing something, you know, when you have written something on a sheet of paper and you take an eraser and you start erasing on the sheet of paper, there's always that residue, and you can kind of still see some of what was there before. And so I'm not implying that you just never ever remember anything and that you're some type of robot that is able to clean your memory completely. But you've got to be able to show your spouse some grace. And let me say this. I don't buy into the "I'm just human" statement that people often make to excuse poor decisions and bad behavior. I don't buy into that. When I'm working with a couple and the husband or the wife is consistently doing something that's dishonoring the marriage, and the excuse is, "I'm just human. She just wants me to be perfect. He wants me to be perfect." I'm not into using that statement to excuse poor behavior. So that's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is when you and your spouse are consistently working to improve the relationship, your spouse is making the adjustments necessary even when they've made a mistake. You have to be able to erase that stuff. You got to be able to release it, to let it go. It doesn't mean that it never happened. But if you and your spouse are going to win, you can't continue to hold on to all of the mistakes that have been made. Listen, my husband and I have been together 25 years. We've been married 16 years. Hey, honey, 16 years. If we continue to hold on to everything that has happened for those 16 years, there's no way we can win. You can't win when you're carrying all that baggage. Erykah Badu, who, by the way, I grew up thinking that she was my cousin. You know how everybody got cousins that you just went to school with, and all of a sudden they all your cousins? I didn't realize she really wasn't my cousin, y'all, till I was in about the 9th grade. Anyway, Erykah Badu sings a song that says, "Bag lady, you gonna hurt your back, carrying all them bags like that." Let me tell you, you and your spouse are gonna hurt your marriage if you continue to carry all those bags. You've got to get an eraser and start erasing some of that stuff, letting it go. And let me tell you, I already know what some of you guys are going to email me. You're going to email me and say, "Robin, how do you do it?" That's a heart operation that has to happen. That's heart work. You got to give it to God and let him do that operation on your heart. Let me say this, though. Let's keep it real. When negative behavior continues to happen, I want you to not put yourself in a position where you're expecting yourself to let go of things when the same thing keeps happening. But at the same time, you don't sit back and be passive about that either. You need to get some help. You and your spouse need to get support if negative behavior is consistently happening. This is the way I describe it to my clients. If you walk into my office and you step on my foot, that first time I'm going to say, "Oh, you didn't mean to do that. That's okay." The next time you come in my office and you step on my foot again, I'm going, you good? All right, I'm going to let it go. The third time you come in my office and you're coming near me, I'm going to be defensive because you've done this over and over again. Well, that's what happens in marriage. If the same behavior keeps happening, it's only human nature that I'm going to kind of pull back, because how can I trust that it's not going to happen again? So if that's you, if you're repeating the same negative behavior, it's unfair to expect your spouse not to have an impact or not be impacted by that. So what I'm talking about, you got to get an eraser when both of you are working toward change. And if you're not working toward change, you need some support, okay? So we are talking about what does it take to win in your marriage. I want to help you and your spouse win. There are 4 things every winning couple needs. Number 1, you need a thermometer. Number 2, you need an eraser. Here's the third one. And I talked about this recently if you joined me on the No Roommate Zone webinar. 2018 is the No Roommate Zone for everybody connected to the I Believe in Marriage Network. We did not get married to be celibate, and we did not get married to be roommates. And so I did a webinar called the No Roommate Zone. And one of the things that we talked about is that if you and your spouse are going to get out of the roommate zone, here's one of the things you need is an anchor. So as you and your spouse are building your marriage as a winning team, and if you and your spouse really want to win this year, if you want to win throughout your marriage, you need a thermometer, you need an eraser, and you need an anchor. What is that thing? Let me tell you what I mean by an anchor. What is that thing that you and your spouse use to pull you back together? If the two of you are drowning, if your relationship is in a bad place, if you guys are struggling, what is the constant? What is the thing that is consistent? What is the thing that is unchangeable? What is the thing that the two of you don't question? What is the thing that the two of you have in common that you can use to hold on to get you back to safety? Every winning team needs an anchor. Now, for those of you who are faith-based, and that's the majority of the people who I work with, if you are faith-based, then you already have the answer to this. You don't even have to work on this one. I'm telling you what your answer is. If you're faith-based, your anchor is God. That's the constant. If both of you are faith-based, let me say that. If both of you are faith-based, that's your anchor. God. So you want to use prayer as your anchor. And let me tell you what I mean by that, because I don't believe in using prayer as a passive answer when you don't have a real answer. And I don't believe in using prayer as a band-aid just to cover up stuff. That's not what prayer is. Prayer is communication with the one who created marriage. So if you and your spouse are going to win, you guys need to find, what did God say about marriage? What did he say about your union? Why did he bring you together? What is the promises that he's made to you and your spouse? If you don't know any of that, that's okay. You just need to discover the answer. Find somebody that can help you dive in and figure those things out. Prayer is not a passive response. So if you are faith-based, your anchor is prayer. Your anchor is God. That's the thing you can hold on to when everything else seems to be falling apart, when the kids are acting a fool, when the money is jacked up, when it seems like your health is not in line, the two of you can't seem to get along. I can tell you guys, I always say this, I tell I'm crazy all the time, but I say this all the time. I can tell when my husband and I are in a shaky place. This is so ridiculous, but I can tell when we're in a shaky place, when he's coughing and I get annoyed by his cough. Because sometimes he has this random cough. And when he's coughing, and I'm sitting upstairs and I hear him downstairs coughing, and I'm like, so he just gonna keep on coughing. He just gonna keep on. Then I think that's an indicator to me. Are y'all good? Because the man's just coughing. This man can't cough in his own house. He can't cough in his own house without you being annoyed. That's an indicator for me. So when his coughing is wearing me out, we have to remember our anchor. So I want you and your spouse to discover your anchor. Let me throw this out there really quick for those of you who may not be faith-based. One of the ways you can find your anchor is to discover your values. What are the things that you and your spouse both value? And then hone in on one thing that you value that can draw you back together. All right, so we are talking about the 4 things every couple needs to win in their marriage. Every winning couple has this. If you know a couple that is knocking it out the park, that seems that they have a synergy about themselves, that they seem connected. It's not that they're perfect. There's no such thing as a perfect couple, but it just kind of seems like they got their flow. They got their thing going. They have these 4 things, even if they haven't fully articulated it. Look, everybody's not a therapist. Everybody doesn't get as obsessed about marriage as I do. So they may not have these words to articulate, but they have these 4 things. Number 1, they have a thermometer. There's something that they're doing to assess the temperature of their marriage. Number 2, they have an eraser. They're able to show grace to one another. They're able to let go of those things that have happened in the past and move forward in a positive way. Number 3, they have an anchor. They have something that draws them back together when everything else is going crazy. And here's number 4. I can guarantee you, if a couple is winning in their marriage, they have a mirror. They have a mirror. Let me tell you what I mean by a mirror. People often come to me and they say, Robin, what does it take to have a healthy relationship? Y'all, if I could get $1 for every time I get that question, my kids' college, their grandkids' college would be paid for. That's how often I get that question. And I often tell people, I'm a woman of faith. I'm a church girl. And so I believe Jesus is critical. But next, it's not just communication. It's not just honesty. It's not just fidelity. It's not just finance agreement. If you're going to win in your marriage, if you want to have a healthy relationship, there has to be some self-awareness. You got to know your stuff. You got to know how you contribute to the issues in your relationship. Most of my time working with couples personally is helping them to look in the mirror, helping them to see how they contribute to the health of their marriage. And can I tell you what's scary? This is really scary to me, and I'm not just being dramatic, although I can tend to be a bit dramatic. What's scary to me is how often people think they know their stuff, but they really don't. You got to know how you are contributing to the chaos in your marriage, and often your spouse is the one who can tell you. Often your spouse can say, this is what you are doing that's causing conflict for me. You got to know your stuff. And then number two, you got to be willing to do something about it. It's one thing to say, I know I'm sarcastic. I know I got a mouth on me. I mean, but you've been knowing that. I've shared with you guys that I've said that before. But if my sarcasm is starting to cause a problem in the relationship, I have to be willing to acknowledge that. So if you are going to have a healthy marriage, if you and your spouse are going to win in your marriage, if you're going to knock it out the park, you need a mirror. You got to be able to know your stuff. One of my favorite marriage experts says that there are three things that are really important in a relationship. He says emotional IQ, friendship, and then a healthy interdependence and independence. So of course we get the friendship piece. You got to have a strong friendship. Inter and independence is that you have to have a healthy balance of connecting your lives together while still honoring the differences between the two of you. You get what I'm saying? You have to have a healthy way of balancing the interconnectedness, the oneness between the two of you, but also respecting the individuality of one another and how you both are made up. So that's what that part is. But let me talk about the emotional IQ. It's the ability to be sensitive to what goes on in the dynamics of emotions, and you being able to clearly understand your own emotions, your own triggers, what makes you tick, and understanding that about your spouse, and then being able to understand the nuances between the two. Emotional intelligence. And so when I talk about the two of you needing a mirror, that's what I'm saying. You need to be able to look in the mirror and see how you're contributing to the chaos, and not just the way you think you're contributing. You need to get feedback from your spouse. Many times the couples that I work with and the couples that I look at from afar, so many couples, and if I'm honest, it's probably most couples, because Lee and I have to be careful about it as well, just like everybody else, because let me help you understand something. Anybody who teaches on marriage, the moment they try to imply that their situation is on lock is the moment you need to run far away. Because if any of us start to get cocky about our situation, that's a red flag. We always need to know all of this is a work in progress, okay? So what I always say is, I just happen to have the tools that can help you and your spouse, but if me and my spouse don't use the tools, we'll be sitting on the couch too, which I think everybody needs to sit on the couch anyway. All right, so I often find many people are fighting for their own way. It can be scary to feel like you're giving in to your spouse. And so what happens is you're trying to have your way and your spouse is trying to have their way. And so you guys are constantly bumping heads until one of you is willing to surrender and hear one another. You're constantly going to find yourself disconnected. So we are talking about the 4 ways to win in your marriage. If you are going to win, and winning couples have all 4 of these things, as I shared with you, it's a bit gimmicky so that you can remember. And I hope you do go to the dollar store and you get all 4 of these things. Put it on your dresser, put it in the kitchen, put it in your bathroom, put it somewhere that the two of you can remember. Nobody even has to know what it is. Just have these 4 things there. I'm telling you, it can help your marriage. There's so many things pulling at your attention. There's so many people telling you what you need to do. You need to do this, you need to do that. Oh, but if you're not doing this, it's not going to work. If you're not doing that, I'm suggesting to you, try these 4 things. I want you to pay attention. You need a temperature. I mean, a thermometer, not a temperature. You need a thermometer so that you can do the temperature for your marriage. You need to know the health of your marriage. What do you and your spouse use? to determine the health of your marriage. You need an eraser. The two of you have to practice showing one another grace, not excusing poor behavior, not excusing destructive marital behavior. But when you see change, when you see progress, that you have to use that eraser, you got to show some grace. You need an anchor. What is the thing that the two of you can use to draw you back together, that the two of you can hold on to when everything is going crazy? And then number 4, you need a mirror. You got to know your stuff. You got to know how you're contributing to the health of the marriage, how you're contributing to the demise of the marriage, how you're contributing to the foundation of the marriage. You got to know your stuff. You got to be willing to do something about it. All right, guys, I enjoyed our time together. Share this with your Facebook audience. Tell them this is must-watch Facebook. Just go right up there, hit share, and share it on your page. Challenge your friends to go get them a thermometer, an eraser, an anchor, and a mirror. And listen, I would love to support you and your spouse in your marriage. On April 14th, I am hosting the Couples Coffee and Conversation Live, and I can already tell you there's so many things pulling at your attention. There's so many things that you could spend money on, but I am telling you, this investment in your marriage will pay off. Ladies, when we get our hair done, y'all know when we get our little weave in, or when we get our hair, if you're still getting a perm, when you get your perm, and when you get your color, you know it costs you well over $100. Fellas, by the time you add up all the haircuts you get, are those the dudes still get J's? My husband don't get no J's. Aren't those what they call them? When you're getting the new tennis shoes, or when you are going to hang out with the fellas, you know you're dropping $100 with no problem. Listen, I want you to take $125 and invest that into your marriage. I'm telling you, it'll go a long way. And listen, if you register before March 23rd, you don't even have to invest $125. It's just $100, $99 to invest in your marriage. I would love for you to join me on April 14th for the Couples Coffee and Conversation Live, where I help you and your spouse build your marriage as a winning team. Just click the link right there, ibelieveinmarriage.com/winning team. I'll see you guys soon. Take care.